By progressive standards, we are all a bunch of racists. Yeah, so what? Hello everyone, and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Now, I've been thinking for a few weeks about making this video, but I kept on postponing it because I thought it will take another year or so until the progressive, anti-racist moral crusaders will end up in this position. However, it seems that our moral superiors on the left have intensified their progress and have ended up on this position much earlier than I expected. A new Australian study published in the Archives of Sexual Behaviour has emerged, and the press is now all over it. The study, called "Is Sexual Racism Really Racism?" suggests that not wanting to have sex with some people is racism. Well, you know what? That's absolutely true. No, seriously, it is. But the fact of the matter is that nobody should really care anyway. The Daily Beast has a funny reporting of this story titled "No Blacks is not a sexual preference, it's racism." The funny part of this article is that they somehow managed to still be progressive and report about the issue, namely to examine the phenomenon within the homosexual circles. And it says, quote, "If you're a gay man, phrases like no blacks and no Asians aren't just words that you'd find on old signs in a civil rights museum. They are an unavoidable and current feature of our online dating experience. On gay dating apps like Grindr and Scruff, some men post blunt and often offensive disclaimers on their profiles, such as no oldies, no femmes, and no fatties. Among the most ubiquitous are racial disclaimers like no blacks and no Asians, which are most frequently posted by white men, but as Edward's case proves, not always. Those who deploy these disclaimers defend themselves from the accusations of racism by claiming that they merely have preferences for certain races over others. Wrote one gay blogger, quote, "Don't tell me I can't have a preference. I don't want to have sex with women. No hard feelings. Does that make me a misogynist?" Well, yes. Not wanting to have sex with women makes you a misogynist. And it's not me saying that. It's the esteemed progressive feminist publication Lezabel, which in an article called "The Myth of the Fag Hag and Dirty Secrets of the Gay Male Subculture," it says this, quote, "It's a dirty secret of a subculture of the gay male world about women. They are essentially unwelcome unless they come to us as Real Housewife, a pop diva, or an Tony Award winner, or an unassuming fag hag." A Tony Award? Whatever the cause is, it becomes clear if there isn't any kind of transactional exchange happening, then women lose their value in gay male subcultures. When we talk about gay male privilege, it's important that as gay men we understand any of us could have been or currently are perpetrators of this culture simply by being. So, are we clear, dear gay blogger? Not wanting to deal with your moral superiors, namely progressive feminist women, makes you a misogynist. End of story. Now, mind you, this isn't exactly a novel idea. Professional con artist and esteemed victimology expert and generally plain old cunt, Anita Sarkeesian, has explained to us simpletons quite a while ago that everything is sexist, everything is racist, and everything is homophobic, and it's your duty to point it all out. Now, the people outside of the progressive bubble, that is to say the overwhelming majority of the planet, tends to either shrug off this approach to racism and sexism or try to defend themselves using the preference argument or trying the logical fallacy of separating private encounters from public encounters. Personally, I believe both of these approaches are absolutely wrong. Shrugging it off leaves more space for these lunatics to forward their whiny worldview. Trying to defend yourself not only legitimizes their point, but it puts you at a disadvantage. The proper course of action, I think, is to go proactively against them and say, yeah, we're all sexists, life is unfair, deal with it, now go suck a bag of dicks. Because when we go to the brass tacks of it, virtually everyone is a sexist. All homosexuals deny opportunities for women. All straight men deny opportunities for men. All straight women deny opportunities for women, and so on. I mean, you get the point. Except for some so-called bisexuals, most people are sexists, at least if we are trying to apply the progressive standards up to their logical conclusion. And you know what? So fucking what? For instance, I for one only go for white women, and I don't care what anyone else thinks of that. Also, since I'm in a committed relationship, my girlfriend is extremely happy with me not providing equal opportunity to other women. But even if I weren't in a committed relationship, I still would not provide equal opportunity for all women. Now, I not only discriminate based on race and sex, but I also discriminate based on age. So no, sorry, the 60-year-old granny doesn't get an equal chance with the 18-year-old. Life just doesn't work that way. And that makes me an ageist by progressive standards. And again, so what? Want to be truly triggered? Not only I do discriminate based on sex, race and age, but I also discriminate against certain handicaps. If a woman can't walk, her chance of ever being in a romantic relationship with me are 0. I am a bit progressive though, since I don't discriminate against all handicaps. I don't mind eyesight defects, because I have one too, and I don't mind certain speech defects, and I don't mind if one of her fingers isn't exactly perfect. You know what that makes me? It makes me a normal human. That's what makes me. Most humans tend to have similar standards. Believe it or not, most humans do tend to date largely within their race, largely within their age group, largely with the opposite sex, and largely with people who have as few physical defects as possible. I will venture to say that this is true for at least 90% of the humans on this planet. And it will continue to be true 100 years from now or even 500 years from now, just like it was true for the last 10,000 years of recorded history. One of the researchers in the study I mentioned at the beginning of this video said, quote, "While society is generally pretty comfortable condemning racism, there has been a surprising reluctance among people, gay or otherwise, to challenge racialized sex and dating practices." Well, yes, because most people, including the overwhelming majority of the so-called anti-racists, both in Europe and North America, aren't really anti-racists. Seriously, they're not. Most people, for instance, are against having laws such as Jim Crow, for instance, but that position can come from various worldviews, not just from the belief that racism is something bad or is always something bad. But whilst most people are indeed against state-sponsored discrimination, most people are also against state-enforced integration. And for bloody good reason. Because the more you take this position to its logical conclusions, the more obvious the totalitarianism behind this position becomes. Now, I'm pretty sure that what I'm saying here sounds horrible to some of you out there, especially those of you who still think using the disordered progressive framework of non-thinking, but the reality is that the culture projected by the self-proclaimed progressive elites simply does not exist. There is a huge pile of research supporting the fact that attraction amongst people pretty much works the way I say it works, namely in an entirely unegalitarian and unprogressive fashion. We humans tend to be more attracted to people who look like us, we tend to trust people who look more like us, and we tend to breed with people who have similar DNA structures. A study from the University of Western Ontario, for instance, found that identical twins took the similarity of their mate selection even one step further. Not only did identical twins look like their chosen partners, but the non-related spouses of the twins often resembled one another very closely. A study made by University of Michigan psychologist Robert Zions found a very strong correlation between couples that tend to look alike and couples who are stable and happy. The results of that study have been replicated multiple times throughout the planet, which suggests that the pattern exists irrespective of race, culture, geography, and any other category that our moral superiors like to bring into the subject. Now, does any of this mean that all racism is thus natural, good, or impossible to curb? No, of course not. But it does mean that some forms of racial bias will never go away, and more importantly, should never go away. If diversity is such a strength, then preserving that diversity is also a good thing. But that diversity is not preserved if everyone is mixed with everyone else. If everyone mixes with everyone, then there is no more diversity. And herein lies the incoherence of the progressive worldview. On one hand, we're all supposed to believe that we're all the same, but on the other hand, it purports to champion diversity whilst attempting to undermine exactly that diversity. Now, that doesn't make any sense. But I guess making sense and being progressives are quite mutually exclusive, as we've come to realize. We are currently led to believe that there are only two competing points of view. The progressive point of view, namely that all race mixing is good and trying to be picky is inherently bad, and you should be ashamed or even banned from uttering such a position, and the fascist point of view, namely that all race mixing is bad and should thus be banned. Now, here's the freedom alternative. How about the fascists and the progressives leave us all alone to pick and choose whomever we please? You know, just like we did for most of the human history. Anyway, back to the original question. Is not wanting to have sex with certain people based on their race a racist proposition? Yes, it is. In the same way, gays not wanting to have sex with women is a misogynistic proposition, or in the same way, me not wanting to have sex with men is a misandric proposition. Yes, everything is sexist, everything is racist. Well, so fucking what? In a diverse and especially free world, that's just natural and healthy. How about you enjoy your freedom and stop listening to hypocritical progressive agitators? And with that being said, please consider subscribing and throwing some shekelim in support of this channel. Thanks for watching.